come and come here. Yet we have a central that can support the North Rift counties. They can work in the morning, by evening they will have process. What is this bureaucracy that is not supporting devolution? Why is central bank withholding the aspect of supporting devolution? Because I find it is totally against the spirit of devolution. We have a central bank in Kisumu. We should have one in Turkana. We should have one. I mean, they are the bankers of the government, and we have 48 governments with 47 for counties. I don't know whether they are aware of this. So what is our nominee here? Can speak about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Quite a mouthful of questions. Proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I think Honorable McLeod said I've been working for quite a long time, which is true. I don't think that I think I feel still energetic. I'm also willing to learn. This 1 month, or while I'd retired, I was learning French. As Honorable Faki said, there is a vacuum of people retiring. So can I also provide leadership and experience and mentor the ones that are coming on board? 2 deputies, I think that will be the responsibility of the governor to allocate the responsibility based on our various competencies. So I leave that. I don't think we will regard ourselves as who's senior or not. I think the aspect is getting the work done. That's the most important thing, irrespective of who's given any responsibility. Crises that I've held, several in the banking. One of them was Chase Bank, when we were closing Chase Bank. I got in the morning, stayed the whole night, trying to resolve that institution. The next day I was in the office, I didn't go home. So for 36 hours, I was working. I didn't sleep for 1 night, and the next day. So that was how important we had to handle that crisis. I've managed some of the crises, like the takeover of Spire Bank by Equity, which was a major risk, especially for the teachers, because they were going to lose money. So I was directly involved in that one. In terms of number of commercial banks, and that's tied again to the issue of raising minimum capital requirements for the banks. One of the reasons why I recommended, I must disclose, that recommendation was done while I was in the central bank. So it came actually from my department. And the reason for banks to consolidate. Forcing a bank that you should consolidate with this one is like forcing a marriage. And there can be other disastrous effects out of that. So you'd rather them lead to consolidation. Because those ones who are unable to lead to meet those requirements, then they'll on their own accord work with somebody else in terms of interest rates and again, what penalties. It's not really penalties, but you can also withhold their corporate approvals. At times it's a delicate balance we can look at. I've recently read a new change in the EU regulations. I think I've done that. What's the take of the recommendation? Kenyans, especially with the economy doing well, I think I did mention. I think we need to also sensitize. We need to also sensitize more on the Kenyans, to take care. I've seen the banks, we've pushed the banks that they have. And also in terms of vetting of staff joining, the commercial banks, because some of those. An important thing that I think we'll have to set up is a cyber security operations center, where the banks will be sharing information of or how that type of fraud went, so that you can share the information with the other banks, because most of them hold the information to themselves. And again, their fraud happens in another bank, the same formula. So they need to set up a cyber security operations center that you can share some of that information to the other operations center that you can share some of that information to the other industry players. Would be beneficial. The representation of the central bank in various regions, apart from the 4 branches that we do have currency centers: Meru, Nakuru, Nyeri, and Kisii, which was about 2-3 years opened. So I think the scope to increase those branches. Unfortunately, CPA Ruto mentioned that they have to come here. I thought some work had been done on that, to go to the counties, and some governors were met to sort of improve the working relationship. There is technology which can be used to have more efficiency. That's the way I can say.
Chair,
Senator Faki, then on
my second question was not answered satisfactorily. He just closed over it. He said that currency center, and apart from the 4 branches, there are currency centers. But my question was specifically on the employment. To people in those branches, people from those regions, because there is no what we call there's no sense of ownership. That we have a central bank in Mombasa. In fact, it's one of the biggest branches, and then all the people working there, for instance, coming from Kakamega, where my brother comes from. I don't think that will be right in line with the Constitution and in line with the national cohesion and integration. Thank you.
Makilap?
Point of order, Chairman.
What's out of order?
Is Senator trying to tell CBK that they need to localize CBK in their respective places?
No, I hear Senator. He's just saying that.
Hold on, Bonarita. It's a general fair question on how central bank, how you could ensure that there is fairness, not necessarily getting people from Mombasa, but fairness, so that we do not have some particular people, now we find now that now there will be more people from your area, when you have...
He answered part of my question properly, of incidences that he faced in central bank, but it's not an economic downtown in central bank, so that people do not lose their money. And there are other choices, what is called an overdraft by the government. And exhaust the overdraft, and they don't. What do you do? What do you do as a deputy governor of central bank? And lastly, Chair, remember this committee faced central bank, and the Central Bank of Kenya recently awarded a significant contract to a company called GSEC Dividend Currency Technologies to bring in Germany, to bring new currency notes without publicly disclosing contractual agreement or tender documents. In light of this situation, how do you justify the decision to utilize a classified procurement process? What measures could you advocate as a deputy governor to ensure transparency and accountability in significant financial dealings of that magnitude? Remember, the tender was about 14 billion to bring currency worth 8.4 billion. Just because you were in central bank at that time.
Chair.
Dr.
Top up. Chair, I just want to add something on what Maklapa said on the printing of currency. How secure is printing of currency? And to make it worse, this is now being printed in Germany. Because if Arico has authority over the people in the central bank, I can decide to go to Germany and ask the company to print something aside for me. Then I fly to Kenya. So how secure are we in terms of printing of currencies?
Because, Chair, we left the LRU that the Kenya government had shares and went to a foreign country, Germany, and you were in central bank. Elaborate.
Honorable members, just...
I did not fail.
Honorable
the
members.
response on the core capital came out very well. You just flushed it, or it never came, and it's a very critical discussion now.
Okay, I think we conclude at that in terms of the questions for purpose of managing time, because there's also another committee that's planning to use this room. Mr. Gerald, Rita, where questions were asked for you to clarify with clarity, please go ahead and respond to them, and the other follow-ups as asked. Thank you.
Maybe I'll start with Senator Faki. I do hear you in terms of national cohesion values that the central bank should put in place. I'll freely disclose that I know it was raised even in the last audit that we need to have a register of who has been employed and get the ratios so that when we go to implement recruitment, then we look at that as well. So that is a measure that we need to put in place. CPA Ruto asked about whether the period given, whether it should be 3 years, 5 years. I think we have to look at it that why are we increasing those rates now, I mean the capital now. And the reasons have been very clear: climate issues, technology, NPLs are high. So just to mitigate the risks going forward. As to the time period, we did suggest that it can be phased out in 3 years, now depending on the institutions. So we've given that as an option. I'm sure this is reasonable. So again, the scope there for discussion, that's the way I would put it. In terms of crisis, Honorable Makilap, yeah, we need to review even the way we pay, like, for example, depositors. The amount that is paid to depositors, is it adequate in terms of crisis? Put in place a crisis management framework. We did get technical advice from the IMF towards as I was leaving, and they were even recommending that we have a financial stability department in the bank to address those issues of shocks that would come, covering so that if, for example, the banks can't pay the depositors, can the government also come in to save the big banks? So those are
very important to the public that the communication that has been going around that there is not enough liquidity, quite higher than even global average, and quite high, much higher, more than double percentage. So Kenyans do not be worried. Your bank, your money in the bank is safe. There's no need for panic withdrawal.
Yeah, should you be considered, Gerald, Arita, there are also other emerging issues where banks are arbitrarily reducing the amount of money that you can access by M-Pesa from your account. And there's been recent notification where the banks, case example, APSA, have said we've reduced the amount that you can access by M-Pesa from your account to this, so that it is not discretionary to the banks to limit. It's important that a policy position be put in place, sure that it guides the banks, rather than the bank saying today the limit you can withdraw by M-Pesa from your account is X, and then tomorrow is X that way. Then we need to get, as a regulator, we need to get a bit of guidance so that that is also guided across the globe. I think we've come to a conclusion of our exercise today. Evidently, you're well informed, about the central bank processes and issues based on our engagement with you. Now, it's the chance for us to give you an opportunity to ask any question, any concern, any statement you want to make before we conclude.
Maybe, Co-Chair, perhaps before you do, the discussion about virtual assets and blockchain technology and cryptocurrency, Kenya is one of the largest users in Africa. And any drive to try to legalize this, the Central Bank of Kenya has not come out very clear on what your stand is, on the stand of the bank on this this digital currency and virtual assets and all that space. So from experience, what do you think the bank should do, and what strategic direction you did as a bank in this area?
I think the issue of virtual assets, it was one of the reasons that Kenya got grey listed, because it was seen that there's some Kenyans who are dealing with virtual assets. Subsequently, a task force was formed under the National Treasury to come up with policy recommendations on how those virtual assets should be handled. I know about a week ago, all the regulators met in Mombasa to review the recommendations of that technical team, and thereafter the paper will be going to cabinet. Fortunately, they have missed the developments that have been going now. So there's work that has been done on that. On the chair's recommendation that how the banks deal with their customers, I think they need to improve on that. They should actually be informing you why they're making those changes. Maybe it's for your good, maybe somebody wants to target you and remove more money, so they're limiting the risk exposure. That, yeah. I think, yes, sometimes we want to leave them to review their own risks. How do they understand their risk profile? The way we were talking about risk-based supervision, are they seeing their risks? And how do they want to minimize the risks to the customers? Yeah.
Now, do you have any question for the panel members?
No, Chair, I think it's just to appreciate the conversation and discussion. I think you've given us a bit of work to think about when we get back, things on how to deal with reducing lending rates, how to improve lending to the SME sector, and even things that can enable us work better. So I would want to appreciate the committee, and thank you for having me here. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much. We'd like to thank the honorable members, senators, and members of National Assembly. That was a very engaging and well-detailed conversation. We want to again congratulate you, Bwana Gerald Nyaoma Arita, having come this far through the nomination exercise. This joint committee will retreat to make a decision, and of course we will be notified of the decision that this committee will make. If in the event that you succeed on becoming a second deputy governor at Central Bank of Kenya, please, we will hold you to account, because especially the National Assembly Committee of Finance and National Planning is one that oversights Central Bank of Kenya, and so we will look forward to, if you are approved, for much more engagements. Here is your file with your original documents. Just confirm if they are all there. Especially the ID you can the original master's degree from Cambridge, that would be the difficult one to replace than the ID. But on a different note, it's good to see you are awarded best performer in management accounting those days. But I think PwC, that is very, very good for people that have done CPA to get the highest award, to get the award for the highest mark in the country. That is, for a topic like management accounting, is no mean achievement.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we are done. You are free to leave. Asante. So, honorable members of Committee of Finance and National Planning, we move to the other side at KICC. Participation on